Modern smartphones have a problem nobody likes to admit out loud. They've become predictable. Samsung has been polishing the same silhouette year after year. Google hasn't meaningfully shaken up Pixel hardware since the Pixel 7 era. And while some people are totally fine with that, because a phone is a tool, not a fashion statement, there's still a massive audience craving devices that feel new again. The problem is, when phone companies do chase bold design, it often turns into gimmicks. Nothing made real noise with its glyph lights, turning the back of a phone into a functional, attention-grabbing interface. But even Nothing's own attempts to keep innovating have sometimes drifted into features that look cool on a poster and do less in real life. And at events like CES 2026, we've seen jaw-dropping concept designs from brands like Infinix, beautiful ideas, but not always phones you can actually buy soon. That's why this latest Pixel 11 leak matters, because if it's real, it could be the rare combination the market has been missing. A reliable mainstream phone that still feels visually interesting, without turning into a fragile concept device or an impractical design experiment, and the potential game changer has a name: Pixel Glow. Pixel Glow, the Google Pixel 11 feature. Hidden inside Android 17 code, buried inside Android 17 Beta 4 code, leakers spotted multiple references to an unreleased feature called Pixel Glow. Not just a single mention, several strings pointing to how the feature is supposed to work and what problem it's meant to solve. One description lays out the idea clearly: stay in the moment without losing touch. Pixel Glow uses subtle light and color on the back of your device to inform you of important activity when it's face down. That one line tells you exactly what Google is targeting: the phone face down lifestyle. People put their phones face down in meetings, while studying, during dinner, while working, because they want fewer distractions, but they still want to know if something important is happening. Pixel Glow sounds like Google's answer: ambient visual cues on the back of the phone, so you can stay focused without being completely cut off. Other lines in the code add even more detail, referencing phrases like hands-free interactions using visual feedback, subtle lights when your favorite contacts call you. Configure the Pixel Glow feature: lights, effects, glow, notifications, calls, alerts, favorite contacts. Put that together and the intent is obvious. Pixel Glow is basically a modern, customizable notification lighting system, except positioned as an ambient, premium glow experience rather than the tiny LED dots older Android phones used years ago. And if that sounds familiar, it should, because Pixel Glow, at least on paper, sounds extremely close to Nothing's glyph interface. Back of phone? Lighting designed to communicate information without forcing you to turn the display on. So the big question becomes, how is Google implementing it? Pixel 11 renders versus Pixel Glow. Where is the light coming from? Here's where the leak gets interesting. Leaked Pixel 11 and Pixel 11 Pro XL renders show devices that look nearly identical to the previous generation. No obvious light bars, no dramatic glowing strips, no large illuminated patterns, nothing that screams, "This phone has a new lighting system." And leaks usually don't miss something that visible. So either Pixel Glow is being implemented in a way that doesn't show up clearly in early renders, or it's much more subtle than people expect. That's why attention has shifted to one small detail in the Pixel 11 camera bar. According to the renders, the camera bar includes a new addition: two small circular elements positioned just above the main lenses. These circles don't appear on the Pixel 10 series. The leaks didn't explain what those circles are. But once Pixel Glow was discovered in Android 17 beta code, the obvious theory formed fast: those circles could be the hardware components needed to project or emit the subtle light and color for Pixel Glow, possibly integrated into the camera bar rather than spread across the entire back panel. If that's true, Pixel Glow would be less Nothing phone light show and more premium notification accent, a small, controlled lighting zone designed to be tasteful, functional, and very Google, and that would fit the wording in the code perfectly. Google. Keep saying subtle, not bright, not flashy, not animated panel. Subtle Pixel Glow could be Google's upgraded notification light, powered by customization, and AIIF Pixel Glow ends up being primarily a notification and alert system. It could still be genuinely useful, especially if Google does it right. Imagine RGB lighting effects that are color-coded by app-unique patterns for favorite contacts, different pulses for calls versus texts versus urgent alerts, timed or dimmed based on focus mode, bedtime, or do not disturb rules, customizable effects that communicate. Information without demanding attention, that's not a gimmick. That's actually practical, and it solves a real issue modern phones created. Always-on displays and lock screens still tempt you to pick up the phone. Pixel Glow could give you awareness without interaction, especially when your device is face down and you're trying to stay present. Of course, there's also the inevitable Google twist, Gemini integration. Some of the strings hint at hands-free interactions using visual feedback, and there's talk of subtle lights during interactions with Gemini. Whether that becomes genuinely useful or just another way to stamp AI branding onto everything depends entirely on execution. If Pixel Glow lights up to indicate Gemini is listening, processing, or responding, fine. That could be a clean status indicator. But if it becomes a forced AI feature spotlight that drains battery and adds little value, people will call it out immediately. The real risk, Pixel Glow could feel outdated before it launches. Here's the tightrope Google has to walk, nothing already established an identity around back-of-phone lighting. And while opinions differ on how useful glyph lights are, the market already associates that look and concept with nothing. So if Google's Pixel Glow is too basic, like a couple of glowing dots that mostly blink for notifications, then Google risks launching a feature that feels like a late arrival, not because it's useless, but because it may look like Google is copying a trend after the trendsetter already moved on. That's why Pixel Glow needs at least one of these to land. Better customization than competitors, smarter rules and automation, cleaner, more premium. Look that fits Pixel design language, a genuinely useful face-down mode experience that people adopt daily, thoughtful integration into Android settings so it feels native, not bolted on. If Google nails those points, Pixel Glow doesn't have to be the flashiest implementation. It just has to be the most usable one, and frankly, that would be the most Pixel outcome possible. Pixel 11 design needs fun again, without becoming impractical. The bigger story here isn't just lighting, it's that Google might finally be willing to make Pixel hardware feel playful again. Phones don't have to be boring slabs that only improve through camera processing and yearly chip upgrades. And innovation doesn't have to mean folding screens, fragile moving parts, or concept-only materials.